I can't believe I'm even saying this, but we may have found a public safety minister that is even worse than Marco Mendicino. After this morning's video on another Trudeau-appointed senator flipping to the Conservatives, we're back to question period, where Mark Carney embarrasses himself once again as he fumbles his answers on the ArriveCan scandal. Meanwhile, the new public safety minister looks determined to outdo Marco Mendicino as the worst in modern history. Let's take a look.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Breaking news. Conservatives will force a vote here in the House of Commons to get Canadians their money back for the ArriveCan scandal. The Auditor General slammed the Liberal government for giving GC Strategies, the top Arrive scam contractor, $64 million in contracts since they took office. $64 million to a two-person IT company that did no IT work and is under RCMP investigation. Instead of empty words like, we accept the Auditor General's findings, how about the Prime Minister show some concrete action, vote for our motion, and get Canadians their money back?
All right, we're right into it, and Andrew Scheer is going right after Mark Carney and his Liberals for the ArriveCan debacle yet again. A couple of you have said this in the comments, and we agree here at Northern Perspective. We're glad that they are not letting this go, because where's our money? The Liberals were telling us last year in committee, and they were telling us last year in question period that, well, you know, if it's deemed that there's a way to get the money back, you know, there are processes for that, and we'll follow those processes. Well, based on what the Auditor General is saying, it sounds like there may be some grounds to actually go and get it back. Not all of it, because you can't get all of the money back because work was actually done. The trouble is we don't know what was done, and we don't know who did it, which is the whole point behind the Auditor General's findings. So, but I would suggest to Andrew Scheer, maybe he should take a page out of Mark Carney's book and not ask him to support it, just say, you know, Canadians deserve their money back, and we expect the Liberals to support it. Maybe try that one.
Mr. Speaker, this government is focused on best-in-class procurement. That is why we're put in place a new Department of Government Transformation. That is why we're putting in place a new Department of Defense Procurement to get taxpayer value for money, to build the strongest economy in the G7. That is how we'll get value for Canadians.
Okay, so that was quite the fumbling answer that Carney had out of the gate. Took him a while to actually start answering, and then he didn't seem to know where he was going with that. So my guess is what he's been told by, you know, the Liberals that are more experienced at not answering questions is that he shouldn't directly answer the questions of the Conservatives. Instead, provide an answer that is in the same ballpark. Now, as we have heard from Francois Philippe Champagne, even that sometimes doesn't even happen because he's not even in the same ballpark. He's in a completely different sport and hemisphere altogether. But it's interesting that all Carney is trying to do is not even acknowledge this, and which is funny because he could. He absolutely could. Being a new prime minister, he could say, hey, I wasn't here, wasn't me. And it would actually earn some Canadians some actual goodwill if he actually said, that's going to be a priority of mine. Hey, Minister of Innovation, go and get as much money back from that contract as you can. That would actually earn some goodwill. But that would require the Liberals actually having to act with integrity. And they're in a little bit short supply on that, just as Canadians are in a short supply of housing, money, food, and everything else.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, he's settling into old Liberal habits of not being bothered by wasting taxpayers' money and funneling it to his friends.
Right.
And Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's trying to act like he's new to the job or he just got here. He was Justin Trudeau's senior economic advisor while these contracts were being handed out. And the Minister of Trade with the U.S., the Minister for Jobs, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs all have their fingerprints on this scandal, and he chose them to sit around his cabinet table. Why is it every time Liberals get caught in a corruption scandal, Liberal politicians get rewarded and taxpayers get the bill?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Okay, so your answer to the question with the context of you have multiple cabinet ministers that were in the same cabinet that actually were present and were involved in the files that led to the ArriveCan scandal in the first place. And the question being, why is it that when Liberals get caught in corruption, Liberals get promoted and the taxpayer ends up getting punished? And the answer to that is, well, we have some ministers, we're focused on best-in-class procurement. No idea what he means by that. Best-in-class procurement we have this minister over here that's in charge of this new agency that's going to cost more money, and we have this secretary here that's in charge of a new ministry, and that's going to cost more money. So in order to save Canadians more money, your answer is to set up new ministries, hire new public servants, spend even more money of taxpayer money to save us taxpayer money. Got it.
General, confirm what we've been saying about the fraudsters behind the ArriveCan app and the failure of this Liberal government to protect taxpayers. GC Strategies was an IT firm that didn't do IT, didn't follow procurement rules, didn't provide value for money, didn't have valid security clearances. What they do have is 64 million ill-gotten tax dollars in the bank, and this Liberal government let it all happen. When so many Canadians are struggling to make ends meet, why is this government making no effort to get those wasted tax dollars back?
Right honourable Prime Minister.
Okay, so we do have to correct the Conservatives on this one. So the $65 million did not all go to GC Strategies. We just want to make sure that everybody knows that. From accounts and what we learned in committee, about 22-ish million went to GC Strategies. The other 40 million was divided up between companies like Dalian Enterprises. We've talked about them quite a bit. Hiring new public service people to actually answer the phones, and costs for infrastructure to host some of this stuff on. So there's a lot of other contractors that were involved here. It wasn't all going to GC Strategies. It doesn't get away from the fact that GC Strategies was paid over $20 million and they didn't do any work. Now, they will then say, well, we passed along the contracts and the payment to other contractors, but the problem is we have no visibility to that as per GC Strategies themselves. We, as the taxpayers and the government, don't have any visibility to that, and we should have visibility to that because that's our money and we deserve to know where it goes. So just want to make sure that we lay that on the table. It's not just GC Strategies involved in this, that's Dalian and many other contractors as well as some internal costs.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's important to follow details, including important details such as there was just an election. Canada's new government was elected to focus on getting best value for Canadian taxpayer dollars and building the strongest economy in the G7. That's exactly what we're doing. We're focused on it.
The honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
Okay, so I will take Carney at his word. So you're going to get best value for Canadian money. You didn't say in what time period. So I demand to get best value for my money as it relates to the ArriveCan app. And best value for money means we deserve some of that money back into our coffers. Now, can I expect to get money back into my pocket as a result of this? No, but it should be returned to the government, and then the government can reallocate that so they're not taking even more money out of our pocket to pay for some other harebrained program. So, Canadians demand value for money, as you said, Mr. Carney, Mr. Prime Minister, with your new government. So, that applies to ArriveCan, it applies to SDTC, it applies to Infrastructure Bank, it applies to every single government Liberal scandal over the past 10 years. We want value for money, so go get our money back.
They're not holding GC strategies accountable, they're letting them keep the cash. The Auditor General confirmed that current Liberal ministers failed Canadians in this matter. They failed to protect tax dollars. They failed to check the qualifications of those doing the work. In half the contracts, they failed to even verify that work was done. Unbelievably, the Trudeau ministers responsible for ArriveCan got promoted and have now been put in charge of critical Canada-US foreign affairs and jobs files. Why did the Prime Minister reward these failed Trudeau Liberals instead of holding them accountable for their incompetence?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government, Canada's new government, is focused on best value for taxpayers' dollars. Yes. We are running a process to review our programs. We are running a process to focus on results for Canadians, not dollars in. We are running a process to integrate technology. We are running a process to get best value for the largest increase in defence spending in precedent, making up for the failures of the members opposite.
Well done.
Steve McKinnon saying, well done at the end there. Did you hear the slip up? We're not focused on dollars in. Did you hear that? I heard it. And I think that just summarizes this whole new session of Parliament that we're in. We're not focused on dollars in, meaning we're not focused on actually getting money from anyone. We're focused on spending money. We're not focused on the revenue, which is why we haven't bothered to put out a budget. We're not focused on that. Why? Well, because spending money is easier than raising money, isn't it? Spending money is easier than raising taxes on people and having them immediately ticked off at you because you are the new Prime Minister. Makes you wonder if we're going to get some new taxes announced in some sort of mishmash government doublespeak in the fall that are retroactive to now. Now, this is just speculation, but Carney's going to have to pay for this budget somehow. But here's the thing, you have Carney standing up and repeating the same answer over and over and over again, just like Justin Trudeau. Carney says he's nothing like Trudeau. Well, he sounds like Trudeau. His answers are like Trudeau. His cabinet's like Trudeau. His government seems to be operating like Trudeau. So I guess the question is did Trudeau just get older and put on a mask? Because this sounds like Justin Trudeau.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General reconfirmed what we already know. The Liberals are bad with Canadians' money. On housing, they promised to build 4,000 units in 6 years, but the real number, a pathetic 309. And the F-35 budget has exploded by $14 billion, and there's no pilots to fly them. Worst of all, the Liberals funneled $64 million to ArriveCan contractors, just two guys working from their basement, with no proof they did any real work. Same Trudeau ministers, same failures, same old Liberals. Why did this Prime Minister promote the very ministers responsible for these scandals into his cabinet?
The honourable Minister for Government Transformation.
Just want to take a minute and acknowledge Connie Cody, the common sense conservative from Cambridge. We had the pleasure of door knocking with her and attending many events with her and her amazing husband, which is... He's happy to be sitting at home right now and watching his wife eviscerate the Liberals, I'm sure. So thank you to the people of Cambridge who actually elected Connie Cody into the House, because she's doing a phenomenal job. And it's a phenomenal question. Why did you promote these people that completely failed at their job, that were responsible for some of the worst polling in the Liberal Party in literal modern history? Yet these guys got promoted. Yet these guys got promotions. You even promoted Sean Fraser. He screwed up the immigration file. He screwed up the housing file. Why not screw up the justice file too, eh? They all get promoted. Champagne. He was the guy in charge of some of the ministries that was ahead of all of this stuff. Now he's the finance minister. This is the guy you want in charge of Canada's budget? Not on my watch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Auditor General for her work. I had a very good conversation with her concerning workspaces, particularly what was in her report yesterday, and I would note that she specifies that we are on track to meet our goals for affordable housing on federal lands. It's good news for Canadians.
Really? That's your answer? That's your answer. So we blew billions of dollars in spending. We wasted $65 million on an app that didn't work and nobody wanted. We didn't even get any of the housing built that we said that we were going to build. And our response is, well, you know, the Auditor General says we're on track, so we're going to go with that. Thank you very much.
Honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola.
1,000 pounds. The amount of cocaine that was seized by Peel Police, according to media reports just yesterday. This public safety minister previously said that the bail system was sound, and yet 6 of the 9 of those arrested are already on bail. Given what we see and hear when it comes to bail, does this public safety minister still think that the bail system is sound?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me first of all thank the work of Peel Regional Police and also acknowledge the incredible work of the Chief of Police for the City of Toronto, who's in Ottawa today. Chief Demkew is an incredible leader who has been working in the front lines along with members of Peel and across law enforcement across Canada to ensure that drugs are off our streets. And this is a moment for us to ensure that we support them and we continue to acknowledge the incredible work of our police services.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but we may have found a public safety minister that is even worse than Marco Mendicino. If you can believe it. At least Marco Mendicino was able to string a sentence together. Gary Anandasangari, I don't know what he thinks he's doing in answering this question, but it is not having the effect that he probably thinks it does. Especially, you know, the Liberals. Liberals keep reminding us that there was just an election. Well, let me remind the Liberals that we had police union after police union after police union across this country, including the Toronto Police Service Union, may I add, that openly supported the Conservatives because they were sick and tired of the soft on crime policies that have led to the disaster that is in this country by the Liberal government. So you have the Conservatives rising up and saying 1,000 pounds of drugs were seized. 6 of the 9 people that were arrested were already out on bail because of your failed bail system. And the response from the Liberals is, congratulations, police, you're doing good work. Let me reframe that. Congratulations, police, you're doing great work of catching the same people that you've already caught, so you're just getting better at and having better practice at doing it. What a disgrace of a public safety minister. I'm not going to acknowledge that the reason that 6 of these people were actually caught on this is because of bail. What I'm just going to say is thanks to the police. Yeah, no wonder the police services absolutely hate your party.